Right guys, welcome back to the channel. I've got another radio to show you today. This is the TIDRADIO TD-H3. Now if you remember, a couple of weeks back I put out a video about this one, the TD-H8, also from TIDRADIO. A great transceiver, a little bit bigger as you can see from the TD-H3, but TIDRADIO in China reached out to me and asked if I'd like to do a review on one of their newest products, which is feature packed and very tiny as well. And this is the result. This is the TD-H3. Now this radio seems to be around all over the place on the internet right now. There's loads of YouTube reviews out there, lots of people on forums talking about it, and with good reason really, because it does pack in a whole load of stuff. And for once I can actually say that Chinese radios are showing a little bit of innovation, particularly from TIDRADIO. Now they haven't paid me to say that or anything, they've just sent me a free product to look at and give my honest opinion, so I'm not paid to actually do that. I can say what I like about the transceiver, but so far so good. So today we're going to have a little look at that, some of the features, and you can actually make up your own mind about this little radio. Now the first thing you'll notice when I put it on the side next to the TD-H8 is it is somewhat smaller. It's probably one of the most compact transceivers of its class, because this is a dual band ham radio essentially, but they've sent me the unlocked version. So what that actually means is it will actually transmit from 136 right up to 600 megahertz if you unlock it in the menu. Now there's some settings in the menu that allow you to go through those areas of frequency coverage and turn them on and off as required. So of course for us, we're only interested in the ham radio bands, but if you're using it for some kind of PMR application, you might also want to turn on those other bands right up to 600 megahertz if you've got the license to do so. But interestingly, the radio also covers on receive right down to 50 megahertz. So that's quite a big coverage, I would say, really. It's quite surprising. So you can actually listen on the 6 meter amateur radio band as well, and also listen to PMR traffic and everything else, anything else that's down in that low band sector. Obviously the antenna that comes shipped with the radio isn't going to be much good for that kind of thing, but you can plug in any external antenna or make something up of your choice if you are interested in that. But one of the things I wanted to show you is obviously it's a colour screen radio, and it is very bright. Even though we're outdoors at the moment, you can actually see the display quite well. I mean, it is kind of a cloudy day, but I've managed to operate this even in full sunlight and it's still been acceptable. Now if we compare this one to the, I don't know, they seem to be about the same, I'd say. This is the H8 here, and there's the H3. Very similar type of displays. Obviously the casing's a little bit smaller on this one, but the keypad's all backlit at night as well. So yeah, it's a nice kind of setup. And there is some big differences between these two. Obviously, we talked about the PTT button on here. This is like a plastic coated one, but on this radio, this has got the rubberized one, and it's got dual PTT. So what that means is when the radio is in dual channel mode, you can actually see there that you've got two PTT buttons. So you can operate both VFOs without toggling between A and B. So if you suddenly hear a call on the second VFO, you can push that one and talk on there. So you might have 70 sems on the top one and 2 meters on the bottom one, which is really, really cool. You can, I suppose, disable that feature though, because of course, you know, some people don't like the idea of the dual PTT simply because you might inadvertently transmit on the wrong band or wrong frequency. There's something called sync in the menu. At the moment, you can see on the display there, if I can just focus it in a little bit there for you, you can see a top VFO and a bottom VFO. You can toggle between the two with the A and B key, or you can do that. Let me just get it right in a second. Oh, there we are. Right, there you go. So you can toggle between the top and bottom VFO by just hitting A and B on the hash symbol down here. You can see there's a little arrow pointing between the two, so you can actually set up the frequency range that you want. But you can, of course, once you've set the two VFOs, you can just use these two keys on the side. So some people like the idea, some people don't. It just depends. But they are rubberized keys anyway, so that makes it somewhat easier to use. So I'll just move this other radio out the way there. So what else is special about this radio? Well, you have got the USB-C charge socket on the base, and I know what you're thinking, nothing new there. Most of the new Chinese radios in the last couple of years have had the USB-C. But yet, fair enough, that's on the battery. You can charge it straight from any mobile phone charger. But this is where it gets interesting. This radio actually has a USB-C port on the side of it here. Now this port isn't actually for charging, it's actually for programming. So you can actually plug a standard stock USB-C cable into this radio and basically program it using a number of bits of software, and you can even use Chirp. So it's compatible with Chirp. It's also compatible with TIDRADIO's own software, which I'll show you a little bit later on. And you can also use Bluetooth programmability using OD Master. Now, I showed OD Master in quite great depth, so I'm not going to do the same this time. I did show OD Master Web, and I also showed OD Master on iOS and Android in my previous video. So I don't want to go into too much detail about that. We will have a quick look at those features, but if you're very interested in looking at OD Master as an application that basically it's a cloud-based programmer that TID Radio offer free of charge, then you probably need to have a look at my other review, which I will put a link to on the screen in a minute, and that's the TIDRADIO TD-H3. Now, something else that the TIDRADIO TD-H3 has, that the other model, the TD-H8, doesn't have, is AM Airband Reception. As you can see on the second VFO there at the moment, you've got 129.900 in there, which is one of the local parachute frequencies for airdrops, like to my local aerodrome. That's programmed in here, and we can actually listen into stuff like that automatically on the AM mode, which is really good. So similar to the Quan Sheng, this has quite a wide frequency coverage. As far as I know, you can't enable the AM outside of the airband range, but maybe with future firmware updates, this radio could be maybe more like the Quan Sheng. I've no idea which chip it actually uses inside it. I suspect it's very similar to the Quan Sheng models as well, which have been super hacked up, and basically all different kinds of firmware have been provided, like Exuma and everything. So there is hope that in the future maybe this could be open sourced in the same way, and maybe be able to receive even lower than 50 megahertz and get sideband and AM into it as well. It's a real crazy time for the innovation with these sort of like software driven Chinese radios at such a cheap price. Anyway, I don't think I actually mentioned the price earlier. Price of this radio at the moment is currently, I think, $32 on TID Radio's website. However, you can also buy it from Aliexpress. I've seen it as cheap as $25 recently, and maybe even cheaper if you shop around as well. Keep looking anyway. I've got an affiliate link. If you're interested in buying one, I can help you save 10% on the cost of a radio direct from TID. Look for that in the description of this video as well, if you're interested in acquiring your own. So it's the least I can do to try and promote the hobby, really, and get people a better deal. But like I say, shop around anyway and see what you can find. They're very competitive at the moment, these Chinese radios, and for the money, I think this is great. But basically 4 watts output on high power, so it's not quite as high powered as the TD-H8, which did actually produce nearly 10 watts of output power, but this model does 4 watts. It does top out at that. It's got a 2500 milliamp hour battery. As you can see there on the rear, it's quite a nice sort of shaped battery, very small in the hand, you know, chunky but well formed, I would say, really. The keypad's nice. It's small but perfectly readable in the dark. Nice backlit keypad and everything about it just feels really well made. It's as though the radio should cost more money, but it doesn't, you know. So it's great value for money for anybody who's wanting the first ham radio, or just starting off in the hobby, or just wants a budget radio that can take out and about if they don't want to spend like too much money on a transceiver that they might lose or break or anything like that. Really, there's no real water resistance with these radios, so just bear that in mind as well. You're not going to get that for the money. Now, what else can I tell you about the radio? It does have the crazily bright flashlight on top of this. I'm just going to show you this, just remember it's daylight out here. Just check this out. So at the moment it's currently engaged by pressing this bottom programmable key down here. This is absolutely crazy. It's got what they call a straw hat LED in the top of there, and believe me, this is actually, you can see it just shining into the camera there in broad daylight. This is one of the brightest flashlights I've ever seen in a unit. So as the nights start to draw in after the summertime, you could actually take this out walking, and you'll see that this is a perfect replacement for a super high brightness torch. You press it one more time, it does the flashing mode to attract attention as well. But yeah, super crazy bright flashlight on this one. And there is something else I didn't talk about. It has got the NOAA weather bands as well for those people in the United States who have a weather service. Very limited use in the UK because we don't have such a thing over here. They say we don't get extreme weather. I think we do actually at the moment, but we've had some crazy weather in the past year. But yeah, maybe we should be looking at getting some kind of service like the United States has as well. But at the moment, no equivalent to the NOAA weather receivers or anything like that in the United States. So what's in the box, I hear you ask? Well, this is the box that TID sent me. I don't like unboxing videos really. Obviously there's the antenna wrapper. There is like quite a nice comprehensive user guide for the TD-H3 here, written in really good English actually. It's well worth a look at if you're unsure of some of the features. It just goes through the specifications, but look at that, even a full colour display in the manual as well. So it does actually go for everything, including the Roger beep, the menu settings, and everything else, how to scan frequencies, how to enter memory channel. Of course, you know, I always talk about programming with PC or phone or something, or chirp, but you can actually program these things just by hand. It's not kind of the thing you want to do with loads and loads of frequencies, but you know, it is actually possible to do. And if you've got the patience, you can sit down with the manual, go through it and everything. And each option in the menu is actually written about in pretty good English. And so there you can see, look, it's got an explanation of each one, like for the high and low power settings, which I think is about 1 watt on low power and 4 watts high power. We could do a power test anyway, do a really quick one. You know, it's like I say, switching dual receive on and off. I'll go through some of the highlights in the menu in a second, but as you can see, that's in there. Mine came with one of these things that looks like an iPhone charger for USB-C, so you get a USB-C cable in the box, as well as that, this one here. I've never actually used it though, because I've got plenty of USB-C chargers lying around. It does feel really sort of lightweight. I don't know, I'm always suspicious of some of these chargers that come in boxes, because I've had a couple of them go bang on me, and I don't know, I mean, maybe it's okay, but I don't think it's ever going to get used, to be quite honest with you. I don't like cheap chargers and things. I just have this phobia of them going to go up in smoke, because I've had that happen to me a couple of times. So I'll just use a decent quality USB-C cable, like the one that's supplied in the box. You can use this for programming. You can basically just plug this straight into your laptop. And the best thing about this is you don't need any drivers. It should work on Windows 10 and 11 straight away. I don't know about on Mac, I haven't actually tried, but basically plug this cable into the port under the flap here for programming, and you should be able to detect it on Windows straight away. We can maybe try it. This is the USB-C cable that comes in the box. Plug it straight in. The chipset is built into the radio, so that's another innovation. So it's literally got the chip inside the radio, so you can use a bog standard USB-C cable. Okay, moving on, there's also a TIDRADIO desktop charger in here. Now, I'm not sure, I looked on the web and some people say you've got to buy this as an extra. This one came shipped with it in the box. This is the TIDRADIO USB-C charger, as you can see there. You can just plug your cable in with this power supply or your phone charger, and it will charge up. I did find that it does take absolutely ages. It takes a lot longer than going direct with the cable into the base of the radio, into the battery. So, you know, some people prefer just docking into a desktop charger like this one. So if we just stick it down here, as you can see there, the radio just sits in there, and it's got a little LED on the front there which lights up in different colours when it's charging and when it's complete. It does seem to take longer to charge in this. It says there input DC 5 volts at 2 amps, output DC 5 volts at 500 milliamps, and as you can see there, rapid charging is red and fully charged is green. Yeah, I don't know why it takes so long, but it seems to be quicker to do it direct on the radio, so I'd recommend that method anyway, regardless of whether you've got the desktop charger, unless of course you've got all day to do that sort of thing really. So what else have we got? Well, usual stuff. A lanyard. Wow, always get one of them in the box. Make sure you've got your lanyard. There's another belt clip here. I've got 2 with this radio. There's one already on here. Long story, but I have 2 of these TIDs. So I've just put a different belt clip on there. That one's still in the plastic. And that is about it. That's what you get inside the box with this radio. Okay, one more thing I need to show you, because everybody loves it. You've got the FM radio built in this as well. So if you just press that and go into here we go. FM, you can see that's radio 4, coming in slightly scratchy down here.
Thank you very much, Michael. Maybe you can discuss the Canadian...
There you go. So you've got an FM radio receiver in there as well. We can pick up music stations, but we can't put them in because of copyright claims in YouTube videos. But it does receive really well. You can pre-program a few channels in there, and you can listen to FM radio. And if anything else comes up on the other VFO, it will switch back automatically to your friend in QSO somewhere else. So it's really good. So yeah, extra bonus feature, you've got FM wideband reception there in the normal FM broadcast range. So anyway, let's take a little look at some of the other features in the menu as a quick highlight before I moved on to the Bluetooth programming in a second. You've got all the usual stuff. There's like quite a lot of menu options, all the way up to 54 options there. I won't go through them all, it's the usual stuff there. You've got the squelch control, high power, steps, Roger beeps, and all kinds of other stuff in there as well. CTCSS selection, scan modes, very, very comprehensive. You can choose whether to have a name on the pre-programmed memories or channel number and that kind of thing, as you can see there, hopefully outside. You can program offsets for repeaters, your memory channels. You can scan for CTCSS tones and everything else. So it's really good. This one's quite interesting. Menu option 36, sync on or off. If I turn sync off, it becomes a single band radio then. So if I go back out of here, you can see there, you've just got the standard VFO now. So just a single band one instead of two bands on there. So as you can see, just the one. So if you don't like the dual VFO switching between the two things, you can do that as well. I often use it in that mode, so I don't always need the two VFOs, which is kind of interesting. Yep, you've also got two lights on top of the radio here, which actually pulse at regular intervals. I don't think you can see them outside at the moment. Basically, they're pulsing green at once every 10 seconds. I think it's what they call a breathing LED. So it shows the radio's operational even when the display's turned off. And the reason they're not pulsing right now is actually because I've turned the backlight on to continuous for this review. If you have it so that it goes into power saving mode, so the display goes off, you can then know that the radio is awake by the pulsing green LEDs on top. I might be able to show that in a second anyway, but yeah, sync on and off was the other thing that I was going to show you there. All the usual stuff for repeaters. That's the software version 16.03.24. I believe there's some new firmware just come out, so it might be quite interesting to do a firmware update in this video as well, which would be really cool. I believe they've added an extra AM airband step of 8.33 kilohertz, which would be really good if that's the case. There's your breath LED set to 5 seconds. That's the one I just talked about. Power on message. Microphone gain, now that is really good. You can change the mic gain all the way up on this radio, up to 9. I think there's 10 settings then there, isn't there? Yeah, so the default was 5, I think. And that's a little bit different from the TD-H3. There was 30 options, I think, on that one. So the mic gain still has granular control in here, but not quite as much as on the other radio that they produce, which is kind of interesting. Scrambler, haven't even tried it. AM airband on, yeah, by default I found that I couldn't receive AM aircraft because you've got to go into the menu and switch on AM airband. Not sure why you would want to turn it off, to be honest with you, but you can turn it on and off in here. There's also some other interesting options further up. There are 200 megahertz TX, which is obviously not a lot of use in the UK, more for the United States maybe, for their amateur radio band. We don't use that over here because that's allocated to digital audio broadcasting, otherwise known as DAB in Europe mainly. 350 megahertz TX, again another band that we probably wouldn't use over here, so that's right in the middle of the military airband. And also 500 megahertz TX, so you're getting up towards the TV range really. But yeah, it goes all the way up to there and all the way back down to 0, where you can set the bandwidth of wide or narrow. So quite a lot of things going on in the menu there, quite customizable. Let's just see if I can find, there's the backlight settings for continuous. So if I just take the backlight down to 5 seconds, let the device go to sleep and then watch the display go off, then we should hopefully be able to see there we go. So if we now point this towards the camera, we might see the breathing LED in a second. Oh, did you see it there? It just did it then. So it did the breath LED. Let's see if it does it again. I think it's every 5. There we are, you see. So you can see the green LED lights pulsing outside there. Okay, so I'm going to show you briefly on how to connect this radio to Bluetooth using OD Master. Like I say, I did cover this very comprehensively in my previous video on the TD-H3. So if you want to see that in more depth, then go check out that video. However, this is really easy. All we do is just literally hold down the blue key on here and you'll notice that it engages Bluetooth. As you can see there's a Bluetooth symbol on the screen, and there is the phone as well that I'm about to launch the OD Master application on. So there you can see OD Master. I'll just get it out of the way on here, and we're going to go into connect to Bluetooth, and you can see there it's already detected it, TD-H3, and that's its MAC address on the Bluetooth adapter. We're going to switch that on, and that then should come up connected hopefully in a second. There we go. Then all we have to do is then tap on the radio type and find it in here, TIDRADIO TD-H3, which is the unlocked version, and we're going to hit read. And as you can see there on the display, program Bluetooth has appeared, so it's doing this wirelessly across to my mobile phone, which is an iPhone. It does work perfectly well with Android as well. It doesn't take long either. There's 200 memories available, but it's really quick at doing this. Now, there's a data file already in this radio that I've cloned from my TD-H3, so it's pretty much the same stuff that's in there anyway. And as you can see there's the memories, and you can see the frequency, CTCSS, bandwidth, power, everything else, so that's really cool. And you'll notice in here, very similar to my previous review, you can scroll through here, you can see the memories that are actually programmed. They've got like a little green sticker in the corner that says data, and the others say null, so you know they're empty memories. So it's just a case really of going in there and then tapping, and then actually popping in the channel number and the TX and RX frequency and do that. And then save it back to radio, and it's the same process in reverse. You just hit the right button and it sends the entire data file, including the config of the radio, which is really good. You can set every aspect of it, such as the squelch level, the voice prompts, the TX and RX LEDs. So it makes it really, really innovative and easy to use compared to everything else out there, really. So nice, easy sort of thing. It's not perfect, but you know, it works really well. And if you're out in the field, you can program this radio without a clunky PC or anything else really, would you? You can do it all through the mobile application, or you can use OD Master Web, or alternatively USB-C, like I said earlier on. And then there's something else that's really, really cool about this. Maybe I shouldn't have come out there really, but if I went into programming, at the bottom of the screen there's a repeater button, and you can actually download repeater lists from your local area. So I've got some of these programmed in from my QTH, and as you can see there, GB3NY, local repeaters. It's like a repeater book. I'm not sure where it's getting its data from, but you assume that some of it's out of date. I can already see one error in this one, but you know, it is kind of handy for quickly programming up repeaters and such like. You can actually tap on it and you can see there it shows the input frequency and output frequency and the tone burst, etc, etc. And I think this repeater is actually on 67 Hertz, so that will need actually updating. So I'm not quite sure where it's getting its data from, but it could be useful if you've got a lot of repeaters in your area. And you can save a lot of time by going into here, as long as you double check the facts and figures on the repeater inputs and outputs and the CT, CSS, etc. But it is a nice feature anyway, and you can actually do this anywhere in the world. So that's another innovation inside the OD Master app, which is kind of cool. And that basically is it in a nutshell. Like I say, I've already covered this in quite a lot of detail previously, but we will try doing the USB-C connectivity using a laptop, and see how that goes as well. But yeah, so quite impressive stuff really. Okay, time for a little power test. I've got the Shawcom SW102 here in a dummy load, and I've got the radio in front of me. So we're going to test on the power around the 2 meter band first of all. So 145,000. I'm going to key up here. I'm just having to hold the radio so we can actually see what's going on. There we go. And it's got a hold on there. So 4.5 watts output we're getting there. I don't know if you can see that on the display. Hopefully you can. 4.5 watts anyway on the 2 meter band. And let's go to 433.000. So this is the 70 sems band. So let's try that again. We're going to key up there on high power. And we're just getting over 5 watts, 5.33 watts, which is pretty healthy, I would say, really. You know, it's a pretty good sort of output for a very small radio. So what we'll do now is we'll drop the TX power down to the low power. And here we go again. Let's try this now. And as you can see there, 1.01 watts. So yeah, just about 1 watt really, which is absolutely spot on frequency there. So yeah, just 1 watt there on the 433. Okay, let's drop it back down to the 2 meter band on 145. And let's just do that again into the dummy load. 1.35 watts there. So low power is just over 1 watt, which is absolutely perfect. The power on this radio is a lot more balanced than on the TDF8. So yeah, I actually quite like this radio for its power output anyway. I've no idea what the power's like outside of the ham bands. Let's have a look. Let's try at the top level of 174 megahertz. If you were using this for say PMR or something, 1.65 watts, and then go up to, I don't know, a high power on this one maybe, and then just see how that goes. There we go. 5.5 watts, so it's remarkably consistent across its range really, so that's quite good. Just out of curiosity, I'm just going to enable the TX on 200 megs, and of course I'm in a dummy load, so I'm not emitting any signal anyway, but if I set it to 220 megahertz and send a signal out on high power on that, look, we're actually developing 2.6 watts at 220 megahertz, so that's kind of like quite a lot of power. A lot of these radios do transmit out of band, but they don't always give a lot of power, so that's kind of interesting really. No idea how pure it is. You'll have to leave that up to somebody else who's got the spectrum analyzer with the proper test gear to tell us on that one. But 350 megahertz TX, let's try that one. Obviously you wouldn't want to be transmitting up there in the UK into an antenna or anything. And again, look at that, 7.67 watts up there on 350 megs. So yeah, a fair bit of output power really on these radios out of band. Again, no idea, but just be careful guys, you know, you don't want to be transmitting out of band unless you have to do, or you've got the appropriate license to do so. But on the whole, power tests are pretty comprehensive on this radio, you know. Now you're going to love this one, I think. Anyway, this is wireless frequency cloning, another great feature that's built into the TIDRADIO TD-H3. And I think this is really, really good. You can literally clone an entire radio from one to the other wirelessly without the means of any data cable or Bluetooth or anything else. They basically send over the air to each other, which is really cool. And I'm just going to demonstrate this now. So what you have to do is, this is the target radio. This is basically another brand new TIDRADIO TD-H3 that I've got here. And this one's not being programmed, it's at the default settings at the moment. I've just literally turned it on and just keyed in a couple of 2 meter and 70 sems frequencies. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to clone this one, which has got like about 50 odd memories in it, over to this side here. And hopefully it will actually take everything through from one to the other. So all we do to clone the radio is actually hold down the very bottom key on the side here, the programmable button. So we just keep that held down for a second while we turn the radio on. And then it says wireless copy on the display, and we do the same on the other radio, and basically just turn this one on again while holding down the bottom programmable key, and it should come up on the display. There we are. You can see wireless copy on both of them. All right, okay, so we've got it on both radios now, and all we do is, this one's the sending radio and this one is the target, and all we do to start it off is just push the bottom button and it will actually transmit. Check out this. Now it's quite noisy, you can turn it down whilst it's doing it. You can actually hear the noise it's making. As you can see there, one's in red and one's in green, which it's receiving. And it's got a total number on the screen there of the things it's receiving. It's a bit difficult to see outside in the sun, but well, in the daylight. Don't know if I can actually focus down a bit better there. But basically, yeah, that one's doing the sending. And you can see there the two LEDs, the red and the green, when it's receiving and transmitting. Look at that. That's crazy, isn't it? And it's doing this all wirelessly without any other form of programming cable or data. And it says success. So there you go. It's literally just done an entire copy. So we just turn them both off now. And as if by magic, we'll turn this one back on again. And hopefully, if we go into the memories on this radio, go to memory channel there, PMR8, PMR9, PMR10, etc, etc. Hopefully on this one, we have a clone, and sure enough, look at that. That is crazy. It's actually copied everything across, all the details, all the memories, all the channels, and there you go, hubnet, repeaters, everything. It's done the whole lot, including the settings, all done wirelessly. So congratulations TIDRADIO on doing something that's, you know, I've seen single frequency copies done and things like that, where you can basically clone a radio's frequency while it keys up. But this does an entire data set and sends between the two radios. Now that is cool. And this is all in a radio that's like $30-ish, something like that. So to me, congratulations to TID on producing some really good innovative features in there. So we're going to take it out anyway. Do some tests on the air with one of my friends, Steve G0SGR, and I'm going to show you actually working a few miles out of town with the stock antennas, and then you can make your own conclusions about how good this little radio is. But I think it's brilliant for the money so far. You know, I've had a lot of fun testing this one, and once I come back from the outdoor test, we'll just quickly connect up to a laptop and see if it does actually program using the stock USB cable. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed that so far. Let's go out and give it a test. So here we are about to do a test of the TIDRADIO TD-H3, and I'm using one of my friends about 4 or 5 miles away from here on this location. We're just out in the countryside, nice evening, sun's about to go down shortly, so we'll get this done. We've got a 70 sems test to do on 443-400, and we'll also do a 2 meter test as well. So I'm going to give him a shout now and just see if he can hear me, so hopefully all goes well. G0SGR, G7UFS, are you by the frequency, Steve? Back to you.
Yeah, G7UFS, G0SGR, yeah, receiving you, Sam, and got you, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, Steve. Yeah, it's working very nicely, that is. Nice audio from you this side. Little bit of noise in the background on the FM, but that's to be expected at this distance. I mean, obviously we're about 4 or 5 miles apart, and I'm just using the stock antenna that came with the TIDRADIO TD-H3 there, so doesn't seem too bad. But what we can do is we can switch over to the other antenna afterwards and see if it's any better than the stock antenna. But this is the one that comes with the radio. Like I say, your audio sounds good to me. Everything's good. So what do you reckon then for a $25 radio, Steve? Back to you.
Yeah, G0SGR returning. Yeah, it sounds good to me, Simon. So nice and clear. Probably two little bars on the S meter. I don't know, is that S3, S4? I don't know how to work these ones out on this radio. I would say, but I can understand every word you're saying. A little bit of white noise with you, but you know, not a lot. It seems to be working fine. Did you say you're on high power or low power? Go ahead.
Yeah, G7 UFS returning. Yeah, I'm on high power, Steve. I don't know what the low power would be like from this location, to be honest. I mean, high power on these, they're about 4 watts output, just under 4 watts, I think it is. So, I mean, they don't put out like loads of power like some of the bigger models do. When you see the radio itself in the review, you'll notice how small it actually is. It's kind of like a little compact transceiver. They don't put out 10 watts like the TD-H8 that we showed in a recent review. These are a maximum of about 4 whiskies there. So, doesn't do bad. I mean, I can try doing it on the low power if you want to give it a test. What do you reckon, Steve? Back to you.
Yeah, well, you might as well while you've got me on. Flick on to low. I'll take a standby while you press the buttons and the dials to go on to low power. And I should think we can get you. If I don't get you, just flick it back on high power. G7 UFS, G0SGR, just standby.
Yeah, G7 UFS returning. Yes, Steve, I managed to do that while you were talking there. I've got it down to the low power. So this is about 1 watt, this is. So I don't expect miracles from it, but maybe you can tell me if you're still receiving me. Back to you.
Yeah, G0SGR returning. Yeah, I'm getting you. Your signal's obviously gone to 0, and there's a little bit more white noise with you, but perfectly audible. I can understand every word you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem, Steve. Yeah, that's really good. I didn't expect you to be able to hear me at all from up here. It's a fair way out. Like I say, when you see the video, you'll know where I am. If I just pull the radio to a side here, and you can see the big transmitter mast at the top of the hill there. So we're not too far away from top of Scarborough Road there. So as you can see, it's a nice sort of country location up here. Pretty high up anyway, so there's nothing much to stop the signal. But yeah, not bad. I'm quite impressed with it really, Steve. Audio's good still, so yeah. Right, I'll pop it back up to high power then, and then we can try 2 meters if you wish, yeah?
G7 UFS, G0SGR.
Yep, G0 SGR, G7 UFS returning to you there, Steve. Yeah, no bother at all. So on 2 meters, a little bit lower signal, I'd say, a little bit more FM sort of noise in the background, but everything's still working okay. No issues at all, good quality audio. Doesn't sound much different to the 77s band there. Back to you.
Yeah, G0SGR returning. Well, it's different to me on here. You're a lot more quieter in the audio, but more signal. So you're probably double the S meter reading, but you're a lot more quieter in the audio, Simon. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's a strange one because I'd have expected 2 meters to be a bit lower on the signal with this stock rubber duck antenna. Really, I wouldn't have thought so. It's surprising that, but normally these antennas are optimised, aren't they, more for the 77s range, simply because of the length of them, really. So as you can see, it's not a very big antenna. But I'm surprised the audio is a little bit quieter on there. It's the same bandwidth, same modulation and everything. So, yeah, it's quite an interesting point there. Back to you, Steve.
Yeah, G0SGR return. It sounds as though you're on low power, but you're giving me more signal. So just flick it onto low power and while I'm talking, and then we'll see what you are with that, and see how that compares to when you was on the other things. You go ahead.
Yeah, no problem, Steve. Well, that's low power now, 54321 12345. I don't know what you're getting me like now. Has it made any difference to the audio or any other part of the signal? Back to you.
Yeah, your audio's gone down slightly. Your signal's sort of half. You've sort of gone from 4 digits down to 2 digits. So that's like high power on 70. So but I'm still getting you, no problem, Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting. I'm surprised actually that the 2 meter band's performing quite as well on the signal side of things. But it's maybe down to location or something, I don't know. But yeah, I'll pop it back up to high power, then we can switch to a different antenna if you like. Okay, so we switched the antenna around for one of the Retivis antennas. This is one of them 771 antennas. Bit longer whip on this one, so we'll see what it does anyway. See if it's any better on the performance on 2 meters. I'd expect it probably will be. Let me just sort my squelch out on this radio. It was a bit low on that before, very noisy. So I'll give Steve a shout back there. Yeah, Golf Zero, Sierra Golf radio, G7 UFS. How are you doing, Steve? Can you hear me on this antenna? This is the Retivis, the longer rubber duck antenna there. Back to you.
Yeah, G0SGR returning. Yeah, are you on low power, Simon? Go ahead.
No, negative, Steve. This is high power to you there. So that's about 4 watts output on these radios. Back to you.
Yeah, well, it's probably an S point down compared to the other aerial. Audio is probably a little bit more white noisy with it, but it's very hard. You could be picky, but yeah, signal-wise, I'd probably say it's an S point down. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, Steve. Yeah, thanks for that. Well, that's surprising because this antenna usually performs better on the 2 meter range, simply because of the length of it. So yeah, that's a bit of a surprise, really. It just shows you sometimes the stock antenna can be just as good then as anything else you could add to the radio. But if you want, we can go and try it on 70 if you want a QSY back up there. Back to you.
Yeah, we can go back onto 70. Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you look back, you'll be able to write the S meter readings down. I didn't write them down, to be fair. Should have done, but you know, I can still get you no problem. It's sounding okay. Like I say, we'll go back on to 433, 400 and give it a try there, Sam, if you want.
Yeah, got you, Steve. No problem at all. So I don't know if that's any different from how it was previously on the other stock antenna. This is that Retivis 771 antenna again. A 54321, a 12345. And all the way back to you there, G0SGR, G7 UFS.
Yeah, sounds good, Simon. You're probably two of them bars again on here. Nice Q5 audio, can't fault the audio, sounds good. Slight little bit white noise, but you know, that's if you're being picky again. But no, it sounds good, Simon, go ahead. Antenna afterwards and see if it's any better than the stock antenna, but this is the one that comes with the radio. Like I say, your audio sounds good to me, everything's good, so what do you reckon then for a $25 radio, Steve? Back to you.
Yeah, G0SGR returning. Yeah, it sounds good to me, Simon, so nice and clear. Probably two little bars on the S meter. I don't know, is that S3, S4? I don't know how to work these ones out on this radio, I would say, but I can understand every word you're saying. A little bit of white noise with you, but you know, not a lot. It seems to be working fine. Did you say you're on high power or low power? Go ahead.
Yeah, G7 UFS returning. Yeah, I'm on high power, Steve. I don't know what the low power would be like for this location, to be honest. I mean, high power on these are about 4 watts output, just under 4 watts, I think it is. So, I mean, they don't put out like loads of power like some of the bigger models do. When you see the radio itself in the review, you'll notice how small it actually is. It's kind of like a little compact transceiver. They don't put out 10 watts like the TD-H3 that we showed in a recent review. These are a maximum of about 4 whiskies there, so not too bad. I mean, I can try doing it on the low power if you want to give it a test. What do you reckon, Steve? Back to you.
Then Patrol Squad 374, available 380, Squad 3425. Hotel Kilo Charlie 364, London Patrol, hello, descend flight level 330, Bahami 2 Alpha arrival. Descend flight level 330, follow Bahami 2 Alpha arrival, Squad 334. Nordic 180, report speed to London 118.480. 118.480 with the speed, Nordic 180, bye-bye. Goodbye. Nordic 6 Papa Whiskey, flying to 20 degrees. Heading to Nordic 6 Papa Whiskey. 6 Papa Whiskey, report heading and speed to London 118.480. Heading and speed to London 118.480, Nordic 6 Papa Whiskey, bye. Goodbye. Mascot 364, descend flight level 280. Descent level 280, Mount 364. 109 Tango Hotel, what points do you have on your routing after Mavas?
After Mavas, we have Brussels, Geelong, Remba as well.
109 Tango Hotel, roger. In that case, Mavas will be as direct as I can go with you, so route now directly to Mavas.
Direct to Mavas, Cincinnati, confirm.
Over.
Thank you.
So as promised, we've got the TD-H3 here in front of me with the laptop, and we're going to have a go with the little USB-C cable that's provided in the box to see if the computer can detect this stock USB-C cable and install a driver in Windows 11. So here we go, laptop over there. Here's the cable plugged directly into the laptop. Never been in this machine before, so we're going to just take the flap off the side of the radio, put the USB-C connector into the radio like so, and we're just going to wait a second, see if it will actually detect the cable. So plugged it into there, and we're going to go into the device manager. Let's have a little look anyway and see. Hopefully we might see something on there like a COM port anyway. And there's ports coming up on the side of here. And there we go, USB serial CH340 COM4. So there you go, automatically detected as a CH340 chipset device, which is a pretty popular Chinese chipset that is supported out of the box with Windows 10 and Windows 11 updates. And of course, the driver just installs automatically, so nothing to download from any of the websites. As long as you're connected to the internet, then it should pick up itself from Windows Update. And as you can see there, it's appeared on the display as well. So that's really good. So that's looking promising. So the next thing we need to do now is actually just see if we can use the stock software that TIDRadio provide. So there's two things here. We've got a firmware upgrade and we've got programming software. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to install the bog standard programming software that I've never seen before actually, because this is the first time I've actually run it on this computer, and it's coming up and saying it doesn't know what type of software this is. It's not a very common application, but you can just click run anyway. And what you're going to see hopefully in a second is the install process, and we should hopefully be able to install this for the H3. Now this is just one thing you can actually do. You can obviously use Chirp, you can use this, or you can use OD Master Online as well. So let's just go through that very quickly and get it installing. And sure enough, that should do the trick. And hopefully, if we can find it, it's called H3, I believe. There we go, H3 application. And let's have a look. So it looks pretty much like any other programming software that I've seen from the Chinese recently. Obviously, it's a common sort of thing this is. So first of all, check the COM port. We're going to set it to COM4. It's the only one available on this computer. Click OK. Then we're going to hit read from the radio. So just hit read on there, and sure enough, it seems to be reading OK straight from the radio. It didn't take long at all. There we go. Read finished. OK that. Click close. And sure enough, all the memories are read into the computer there from the radio. So it looks like everything worked perfectly. And that honestly is the first time I've connected the TIDRadio TD-H3 to this laptop over here. So it's working really well. And that's a Windows 11 laptop. Windows 11 Pro should work okay with Windows 10 as well. So no issues at all. But as you can see, it's got all the data set and the programming there. Everything's in. The marine channels are put in, the whole lot. You can see that the software is functional but basic. Don't know what's inside this section there. It just shows you the band restrictions of your current unit. Model type, H3, 136 to 174, 400 to 520, but it does actually cover a lot more bands than that anyway, which is kind of interesting too. But that's your basic programming software. So the only other thing we didn't try was Chirp, but we can try that in a second. Okay, so here's Chirp. Let's see if we can do the same with this rather good piece of software. I always recommend Chirp wherever possible because it saves you having hundreds of different radio programming softwares installed on your computer. So let's go download from radio. We know it's port number 4, so that's the only one available here. Vendor is TIDRadio, so let's have a little look down here, see if we can find it. Sure enough, TIDRadio is there. And then we go, there we are, TD-H3. Let's click OK. OK that. And look at that reading really quickly, probably even quicker than the stock software from TIDRadio. And again, everything's read in there perfectly, so if you've already got some data files, you could always migrate them across and push everything to there. So again, we've tried OD Master, we've tried the TIDRADIO stock software, and we've also tried Chirp. So that's everything. So that's really, really good. So anyway, the only other thing that I need to look at now is the firmware update, because whilst I was publishing this video in the last few days, TIDRADIO have actually brought out some new firmware, which somebody tells me actually adds the 8.33 kilohertz steps to the Airband range, amongst other things in the software. So we're going to flash update the firmware and see how that goes as well. So stand by. Right, so what we need to do now is open up the TD-H3 IAP, that's the flashing program. Locate the file, so we just click on Open File, and hopefully it opens at the right place. If not, you'll have to locate it. In this case, I put it in the Downloads folder, so I just put it inside here, and there's a firmware upgrade folder. Find the .bin file, click on the .bin, and make sure that the radio is actually turned off at the moment, because what we need to do is click Start on this, so it's like waiting for the flasher, and then hold down the PTT key and turn on the radio. And as you can see now, at the bottom of the screen, hopefully, you can see there's a blue bar going across, which shows the firmware is actually being written to the radio. There's nothing on the actual display of the radio at all, but we know it's running because of the blue bar there. Doesn't take long. It says download successful, and it's now rebooted the radio. So that's the end. We can close the flasher program down. Now this is really interesting, because I can now check the firmware update version on the screen. So if I just disconnect the USB-C cable, apparently you can do this from the USB-C, or you can do it from the Kenwood type jack as well. So the choice is yours. You can do it both ways. So now what we need to do is go into the menu and hopefully find the firmware version. And I'm not 100% sure which number it was now, I can't remember. And there we go. There we go, so version has now changed to 020724, so that is the 2nd of July 2024. So that is the very latest version. Now what's actually different in here yet? I haven't seen the change log, I've literally just done it just now. But what I can see is if I jump into VFO mode and go onto the Airband, let's have a little look and see if that person was correct in what they were saying to me. Whoops, I just jumped all the way out of there. If I just go all the way down to here, just put a frequency in on the AM side, and then go to the step on this radio. If I just go down to this one over here. Where's the step? There we go. No, I don't see any 8.33 kilohertz. Oh, there we go. Yep, 8.33 kilohertz steps for the Airband. That's just amazing. So that's one of the changes in the newest firmware. So as you can see, 8.33 kilohertz steps. So this is one of the first Chinese radios that actually correctly addresses the Airband stepping issue as well. So that's pretty good. I'm pretty impressed. Look, there you go. You can actually see it on the display there. So yeah, well done TIDRADIO. So 2 ways to update the firmware, Kenwood jack or USB-C. And you've also got 3 different types of software you can use. The Chirp, the stock TIDRADIO software, or OD Master. So all in all, a really flexible little radio to play with, regardless of whether you use a PC, laptop, or any other method for that matter. So yeah, pretty cool. So there you go guys, the TIDRADIO TD-H3. A great value radio for around the $30 price point. And to be honest with you, I think this would be ideal for anybody starting off in ham radio who's looking to get their first HT, or anybody who just doesn't want to spend a fortune on an expensive radio with features they'll never use. The Bluetooth programmable features are really good, the wireless cloning, and also the decent battery life coupled with the reasonable build quality. And of course, you know, it's a damn good transceiver for the money. I don't think you'll get much better for the $30 price point. You've got like 4 watts output as well, and the added bonus of the AM Airband Reception too. We've seen the 8.33 kilohertz steps added in the latest firmware as well, which is a bonus. But to me, yeah, the radio is hard to fault for the money. I mean, you know, when you think of how much it actually costs and what you're getting in the package, it's a really compelling little buy, really. And so, you know, I do recommend it for the money. It's just between this one and the TD-H8. Obviously, if you want the ultimate flexibility, then this is probably the one to go for the F3. Simply because it's that little bit smaller, and there's 3 ways you can actually program this through the USB-C and the old K-type jack as well. But that all depends how you're going to use it. Some of you might not be bothered about that. Some of you may also not be bothered about the AM airband reception as well, so that's just another thing to consider too. Anyway, if you're interested in the radio, I'll leave the links in the description. There's also an affiliate link down below which supports me if you click on that, and you can save 10% on the TID Radio website as well. But as I say, TID Radio didn't pay me anything. They just dropped me one of these radios off to actually investigate and give my honest opinions on. So you can be sure that what I've said today in the video is true. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. If you have, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already done so, and we'll probably see you in the next video. So 7 frees for now. Hopefully catch you guys on the air. Bye for now.